Hey friends, what's up? Kaz here. Welcome back to another episode on this Minecraft server admin tutorial. And if you can already guess by this little guy here, this is EchoPet. Now this is a really fun plugin. It lets you give some donor perks. It's really not that functional per se, but it's just kind of a fun thing. All the animals that are following around, they're passive. They don't attack other players. They don't do anything like that. And I don't know. It seems like all of the big server networks use this. Hypixel being one. And it can be, I don't know if they use this one in particular, but they have this kind of setup. And it's just a way that you can give your donors a little bit extra, a little bit fun perk in the game. And now this plugin's awesome. It works great. It has a GUI or a built-in graphical user interface, and it can be as complicated as you want or as simple as you want. So if you guys know this guy's name, if you were ever on my other server, this is Big Red. I'm going to introduce you to my pet. Now, this does not come up by default, actually, and I can show you how you do that when we get into the config file. I'll show you how to set that up so it shows up by default, but you can get it at any time by going pet selector, and then you can see it just incremented that up by 3. And then so then if you right click, it opens up this menu. Another way that you can get there is pet select, and then it'll open up this window. So then you can call any pet you want. So let's do, here's a mushroom cow. This is where oh good, I got that achievement. So now this is where you can modify them. And so if you just right click on them, it'll let you modify them in the data menu. So then we made him a little baby, and then you can name him. I don't think you can name him in here actually. So in order to name him, you go pet name, and then we'll call him Big Red. There we go. So that's it. Like, it's pretty simple, especially with this GUI. You can spawn up any of them, and then you can ride your pet as well, which is kind of cool. Bam, there we are. We're riding Big Red, which that's kind of weird because he's really small. Or you can wear him on your hat, and because he's a baby, he's not completely on my head. So then you just toggle it again to bring it back. So let's bring him back over here. We're gonna call him over. Let's see, what else do we got here? We got a lot of different things. You can ride a bat. You can get an Ender Dragon pet. Where's the Wither? Thought there was a Wither one. Yeah, there it is. So anyway, let's get into the configuration file. I can show you how you run this, and I think that's about it for the name. I don't know. There's a bunch of commands. I'll put a link to the commands in the gibbles below, but a lot of it is just done in the GUI, which is really handy, a lot easier than telling your users all these commands. Okay, so let's fire up the configuration file and get into that. Okay, here we go. We're going to hop in the configuration file. Before I do that, like any other plugin, you're going to drop the jar file in your plugin folder, and then it's going to, when you start your server, you're going to use this, or this folder is going to be created after it successfully starts. And you're going to right click on here and be sure to open it up with Notepad++. Now you can use regular Notepad, but like I've always said, this gives you, it's color coded, it's a lot easier to see. It organizes everything. So there's actually, I'm going to set that to false. Another thing that's set to default, so you got your database information. If you use that, you can leave that true, but this is basically what I want to show. You can have it enabled only for certain worlds, which, world, and then if you have multiple worlds, you can set them to false, or you can change this to false by default, which, if you have, oh man, if I can spell. So if you have like a server network, this is where you would set it to default, and so EchoPet is only on the worlds that you want. Some world guard stuff, but this is the section that I really wanted to highlight here. Is by default this will let people drop that bone, so I set that to false, And then you can actually, if the person doesn't have access to the pet, you can have it so it doesn't show up in their list. So if you set this to false, by default it's true. I figured it's alright to leave it there. But this is the main one. So give on join is set to false by default. So you have to put in that command pet selector in order to get that that bone. I like to leave it on true and then don't have it so they need a permission to get it. And then you can even do it where it clears the inventory on join, so it'll always be just one of them in there, which can be helpful. And then you can change the material ID of what it is and how it shows up in the list. But I think that's the biggest thing. Set that enable to true so that when they join, they get that thing. Also, there is so much stuff. So then this is like the organization of the menu right here, and what pet and the name, and if you want to set lore, which is basically like when you hover over it, what it shows up, that's all set in there. If we keep scrolling down, now we get into the pets thing. This is where you can set default names and can damage players. By default, they're all false, I think. And that's it in there. I'm not really going to go into detail of that because that's all for you to configure. Like I said, this plugin works great just straight out of the box, but it also allows a lot of stuff for configuration, which is really cool. So let's get into and check out the permission nodes. Okay, so here we are in the permission nodes. Now I have the screen overlaid here, and basically I'm just going to put a link to this in the gibbles below because there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm just going to hit on a few of them to keep this going along. So if you want them to have access to everything, it's going to be EchoPet.pet.star, and then that'll give them access to everything. If you want them only to have access to certain pet types, you're going to do EchoPet.pet.type and then the type. So then that's where I'll put a link in the gibbles below for all the listing of all the pet types, but that's where you're going to put creeper, iron golem, blaze, cow, mushroom cow, or whatever. All that stuff's going to be there. And then if you want them to be able to ride their pet, then you're going to do EchoPet.pet.ride and then the type. Otherwise, you can do .star and then it'll just let them ride whatever the heck they want. And then the same thing with the hat. It's going to be EchoPet.pet.hat. Type or star. Like I said, you can put in all the individual types in there if you want them only to be able to ride certain types. And then you can see if you keep scrolling down, there's a lot of stuff in there for menu and show and hide and all that stuff. So if you want to customize all that, be sure to put those in there. And review the pet types. So I think that is about it that I got for now. Like I said, it's a really cool, fun little neat plugin that your users can have a lot of fun with. So if you run into any problems, feel free to ask a question below. I'll do my best to answer it. And if you found this video helpful, please leave a like or just comment and say, hey, nice job. Or if you're seeing this for the first time, feel free to subscribe, and I keep doing these every week. So this is Cons from Make Friends, reminding you guys all to just always remember, enjoy the game.
That movie is not just a Daft Punk video with extra dialogue. That is actually...
I just go...